Hello everyone, this is week 4 and my paper is going to be on U.S. debt loan crisis. It's getting harder and harder to graduate college without taking out a student loan. Nearly 70% of bachelor degrees recipients leave school with debt, according to the White House, and that could have major consequences for the economy, according to Julian Berman of Watch Market. Research indicates about $1.2 trillion in student loan debt may be preventing Americans from making the kind of big purchases that's driving economic growth, like house and car, and reaching each of the milestones, such as having the ability to save for retirement or move out of mom and dad's basement. The student debt crisis has became so huge it's even captured the attention of presidential candidates who are searching for ways to make college more affordable amid an environment of dwelling state funding for higher education and rising college costs. But meanwhile, the approximately 40 million Americans with student debt have to find ways to manage it. So my first visual aid shows, as you can see, in the dark blue it shows that people who did not take loans, undergraduate loans, which is 70%, unsatisfied is 30%. And the ones who did took out loans, undergraduate is 60%, and unsatisfied is 38%. High debt borrowers for mostly are highly satisfied is 59 versus the 41. Alright, according to Suzanne Dosky of the Times, Americans owe $1.3 trillion in student loans. More than 7 million borrowers are in default, and a million more are behind on their payments. Borrowing for college is common across the globe. Even in Sweden, where tuition is free, most students borrow. What's expectation about the United States is that so many borrowers are behind on their loans. So what do we do? What do other countries do that make the system work better? As you can see on my first visual aid, on my second visual aid, it shows that the United States is the 12th state with the highest successful debt. Sweden is often put forth as a soft alternative to the United States. After all, tuition is precisely zero in the Scandinavian welfare state. But according to Christine Forsberg, director of the Sweden Student Aid System, 70% of the Swedish students borrow for colleges. In the United States, a comparable 70% of holders of bachelor degrees borrow to fund their undergraduate studies. Borrowing is lowest among the half Americans college who don't even can get a degree. And Swedish students borrow a lot. Typically, student debt in Sweden is 172,000 kronor, or about $20,000. In the United States, undergraduate debt is less than $10,000 for those who didn't complete a BA, and about $30,000 for those who did. Even though the tuition is zero, Swedish students borrow to pay for their living expenses. In Sweden, college students are considered independent adults, with no social expectation that their parents will support them financially. The overwhelming majority of the student borrow to cover living costs, yet despite the widespread borrowing, there is no student debt crisis in Sweden because payments are spread over 25 years. They also start out low, rising slowly over time. In the United States, that typical payment is just 10 years. Only if the United States could adapt to the same system. The next victim of the student debt crisis is mom and dad. Tom Anderson of CNB News stated that decades of tuition rising faster than the rate of inflation means more parents are taking out student loans to help their children through college. Some kids have to give up their dream college of going home. Some people want to go to Harvard, some people want to go to Princeton, but they can't afford it. So the majority of the kids stay at home and go to local colleges. That way they can stay at home with their parents for free and still afford to go to college. Parents with a household income of $120,000 or more borrow an average of $30,000 for their children and are more likely to take their student loans, according to Alicia's research. According to Farron Powell with U.S. News, the majority of college students have student loans and need to develop a debt strategy. So there's 12 steps in developing a debt strategy. Most students grads have student debt. 2, learn about your loan. The first step of your loan borrower is to take an inventory. Check if your loan is federal or private. Know the interest rate and what's the term of each loan. You don't want to get a loan and then they say, okay, because you pay back your loan right after you graduate. And you don't want an interest rate that constantly fluctuates. So within first year is like 5%, the next 5 years is 10%, and so on and so on. Know your loan provider. 4, check to see if your loan have a grace period. The Sanford loan grace period is 6 months before the first payment is due. Perkin loan gives you a loan grace period at 9 months. 5, make a grace period help. The amount of borrower owes in the student loan for federal ones doesn't increase during the grace period. So 6, take action on your loan during your unemployment. So unemployed federal student loan borrowers may be able to enroll in an income-driven plan to reduce their payments as low as $0. So if you're not working, knowing that you have to pay your student loan right after you graduate, if you're not working, contact that institute and let them know to see if you can work something out. And this right here comes to my third visual aid, which is show that the repayment period. The standard is 120 months to come to $272. Graduate is 120 months, which is $152 to $45. And income-based repayment, which is an IBR, which is 122 months to 254 months, and so on and so on. 6, take action on your loan. 7, defer a loan if you continue your education. So if you go to school and you decide, okay, I'm getting my bachelor's degree, and then you decide later on you want to get your master's degree, instead of you paying on that loan right there and then, you want to defer that loan until after you finish paying your master's degree. 8, place a loan in a forbearance to postpone payments. The only thing about that when you put in a forbearance payment is that you start accumulating interest rate. So you stop the payment, but your interest rate keep going up. And 9, avoid defaulting on your student loan. Defaulting on your student loan later on in life, if you try to get a credit card, try to get a car or a house or anything like that, the first thing when the creditors do is run your report and they see that you default on the student loan, which basically means that you didn't even start paying for it. 10, enroll in a payment plan. If you can't afford what they're offering you, call them and ask them if there's any way that you could get a payment plan to decrease the amount that you're paying. And 11 is develop a student debt repayment strategy. And 12, learn more about your student debt. The problem is today with the debt crisis is a lot of students decide that they don't want to pay their student loans. So they just default and it just racked up. So this is the problem right here. So at this time, young kids, parents need to educate them about paying back these loans. And that's the conclusion of my speech on the U.S. student debt loan crisis.